When people say they don't make music like that anymore, half the time they're talking about the guitar, without even realizing it. Because in classic R&B and soul, the guitar isn't always the loud hero up front. It's the secret sauce. It's the hand on your shoulder. It's the little sigh between the lyrics. It's the engine under the chrome. And if you grew up with these records, if you remember the feeling of a needle dropping, the little crackle before the band comes in, the way a song could change the mood in a room in under 10 seconds, then you already know this truth. So let's start right here, 15 down to 11, with 5 guitar stories that live inside the hits you grew up with. I can't tell you how many times I've heard September in my life without even trying to. It's one of those songs that follows you. It finds you. It's in the background at weddings, at family parties, in the car when somebody needs to fix the mood, at the grocery store when you least expect it. And the funny thing is, because it's so familiar, people start treating it like it was always here, like it dropped out of the sky fully formed. But that kind of record doesn't happen by accident. It happens because the musicians know how to build a feeling from the ground up, brick by brick, until the groove becomes a whole world you can step into. And that's where Al McKay comes in. Now, if you ask most folks what makes September work, they'll say the chorus. They'll say the horns. They'll say that joyful badilla energy that feels like a bright light coming on in your chest. All true. Also, just to put a flag in the ground here, Al McKay isn't just some guitarist who happened to be in the room. He's literally credited as part of the song's musical DNA, and he's also listed in the personnel for the track as a guitarist. So when you hear September and feel that lift, that bounce, that clean shine, don't just thank the chorus. Thank the guitar that kept the whole thing tight enough to fly. Because a record can have the best melody in the world. If the groove is loose, nobody cares. September is proof that groove is a craft. And Al McKay was one of the craftsmen.
If this song just hits you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul. The kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
Now let's talk about a different kind of guitar magic. Because Tell Me Something Good is one of those songs where the guitar doesn't just support the record, it becomes the personality of the record. You know that sound. Even people who don't know the name Talkbox know the feeling of it. That chewy, vocal, robotic yet human tone that sounds like the guitar is literally forming words with its mouth. That's Tony Maiden. And what makes this criminally overlooked is that most listeners remember the effect before they remember the guitarist. They'll say, that song with the talking guitar, but they won't say Tony Maiden. And they should. It's like the guitar is not trying to sing a whole verse. It's just throwing little phrases at you, little comments, like the funniest person in the room. That you like it. And that's why people remember it for life. Because hooks don't have to be loud. Hooks just have to be repeatable in your mind. And Maiden's talkbox phrasing is so clean, so clear, so confident that your brain holds on to it like a slogan. And here's the part that makes him overlooked. When a record has a strong vocalist and a strong hook, the guitarist can disappear behind the overall vibe. But that hook is a guitarist's fingerprint. Take that guitar voice away, and you don't have the same classic. So Tony Maiden isn't a footnote here. He's one of the reasons the record became unforgettable. I left my home. Now, this is where the story gets quiet. Because Dock of the Bay is not built like a party record. It's built like a deep breath. It's the sound of a man sitting with his thoughts. And if you were around when that song became part of the world, or even if you heard it later, the way older records find younger ears, you felt how different it was. It didn't beg for attention. It just pulled you toward it.
of the bay, watching the tide roll away.
Steve Cropper is one of the main architects of that feeling, not just as a guitarist, but as a songwriter and producer on the track. And you can hear it in the way the guitar behaves. This is not guitar as fireworks. This is guitar as conversation. Cropper's playing on Dock of the Bay is a masterclass in restraint. The fills are short. The tone is clean. The phrasing is almost like he's leaving space on purpose for you to feel the air in the room. That's respect.
This loneliness won't leave me alone.
And that's what Steve Cropper earned. A kind of respect that becomes invisibility because the work is so right that it feels natural. But it wasn't natural. It was crafted. So when you hear that guitar, those tasteful lines, those small answers to the vocal, remember that behind that calm is a musician making 100 decisions to serve the song, not his ego. That's soul guitar in its purest form. All right, now we go from quiet water to city lights, because Theme from Shaft is swagger as music. It's motion, it's attitude, it's the soundtrack to walking like you own the sidewalk. And a big reason it feels that way is the guitar. That wah-wah part isn't just a gimmick. It's not just waka-waka for fun. It's literally the heartbeat of the track, and Skip Pitts is the man behind it. According to Stax Records' own write-up on the song, Pitt's wah-wah guitar added swagger and urgency, and what started as a rehearsal riff became the song's heartbeat. And if you've ever tried to play that part, really play it, not just mess around with a wah pedal, you learn something fast. It's not easy to make that groove feel cool instead of corny. And Skip Pitts didn't come in trying to dominate. He came in doing what the best players always do. He found the one part that tells the story. That's why the riff feels like walking. It feels like movement. It feels like forward motion. It's not just notes, it's body language. And you can't fake that. So every time you hear that wah-wah pulse, and you feel your shoulders change, you feel your head nod, you feel your walk get a little more confident, remember Skip Pitts. Because he didn't just play a guitar line, he defined a whole vibe.
Papa's got a brand new band.
Now here's where we talk about the kind of guitarist who doesn't even sound like a guitarist, in the traditional sense. Jimmy Nolan played guitar like a rhythm weapon. And if you understand what he did for James Brown's sound, especially around Papa's Got a Brand New Bag, you realize you're listening to one of the foundations of funk. That record is widely described as James Brown's first recording to feature Jimmy Nolan on guitar. So if you grew up with James Brown records in the air, on the radio, at cookouts, at block parties, wherever people needed energy in their bones, you grew up with Jimmy Nolan too. You just weren't told his name. Now you know it. And if this is only number 11, you already know what that means. Because the deeper we go into this countdown, the more you're going to realize some of the biggest stars in R&B and soul history never held a microphone. They held a guitar, and they held the whole song together. And you can hear why that matters in the first seconds where the groove starts acting different. It gets sharper, it gets tighter, it starts punching the beat instead of just riding it. Jimmy Nolan's signature style is often described as that staccato, clipped, percussive approach. Sometimes people call it chicken scratch, but even that nickname doesn't fully capture how precise it is.
You know that it's time to get on board.
The first time Love Train really hit me, it didn't feel like just a song. It felt like an announcement. Like the record was saying, look, no matter how crazy the world is, we're still allowed to dream out loud. And the funny thing is, most people remember the message and the chorus, because that's what you're supposed to remember. But what made that record move like it had wheels under it? What made it feel like it was rolling forward was the musicianship underneath. That Philly sound had a certain shine to it. Not flashy, just clean. Like the band was dressed up even if you were listening in your house shoes. Bobby Eli was one of the key guitar hands in that world, part of the Sigma Sound Philadelphia International orbit, where the groove had to be tight enough for radio, smooth enough for grown folks, and funky enough for the street. And yes, when we talk facts, official credit listings for Love Train include Bobby Eli on guitar. But once you train your ear, you hear it. The guitar is part of the engine that keeps Love Train moving in a straight line, not rushing, not dragging, just steady, like the wheels are locked to the track. That's a gift. A lot of guitarists can play. Not many can play in a way that makes a song feel like a place, like a moving train you can hop onto and believe in for 3 minutes. That's Bobby Eli. Let's be honest. That guitar line at the start of My Girl is one of the most recognizable openings in soul history. You can be in a totally different room, half paying attention, and the second that riff appears, your brain turns its head. I remember hearing it and feeling like the air got warmer, like the song walked in smiling before the singer even said a word.
My girl, my girl, walking down.
And here's the part many people still don't know. That signature guitar riff, intro and under the verses, is credited to Robert White of Motown's Funk Brothers. That's not some rumor. It's one of those pieces of studio history that has been written down and repeated because it's true. Robert White played the part that helped make My Girl feel like My Girl. And what makes it special isn't complexity. That's why the riff can sit under the verse without getting in the way. It supports the vocal like a soft hand on the back. It tells the listener, relax, this is going to be good. And the reason he gets overlooked is simple. People think that's just the song. They don't think a human being invented that little phrase. But they did. And that's the tragedy and the beauty of session musicians. They make things so natural that the world forgets somebody had to create it. So every time that intro hits and you feel that instant comfort, say his name in your head, Robert White.
Baby, since we've been together.
Now this one is different, because Let's Stay Together isn't just a hit. It's a mood that people have been chasing for generations. It's not loud, it's not complicated, it's not trying to impress you. It just feels like truth. And the guitar is a huge part of that truth. That opening guitar figure is so clean and so relaxed that it almost sounds easy, until you try to play it with the same softness and control. Then you realize it's not easy at all. It's disciplined. Teenie Hodges was part of the high record sound, the high rhythm section world, where the groove was warm, patient, and human. And when we talk facts, multiple credit sources list Maiden, Teenie Hodges, as the guitarist for the Let's Stay Together album personnel. And he's also directly named as the guitarist in accounts of the Royal Studio Session lineup for Let's Stay Together.
Since we've been together.
Rolling Stone's reporting on Hodges also ties him to that classic Al Green run, including Let's Stay Together. And that's why he's criminally overlooked, because his job wasn't to be flashy. His job was to make the song feel like intimacy. When I listen now, I hear how the guitar works like a soft metronome with emotion.
Oh, baby.
It keeps the pulse gentle. It keeps the romance steady. It keeps the whole thing from getting dramatic. That's mature playing. That's a grown man record, made by musicians who understood that the quietest choices can be the strongest.
It's up to me to bow out gracefully.
If you were outside back then, really outside, you know I'll Be Around wasn't just popular. It was useful. It was the kind of song people played when they were trying to say something without making a speech. The kind of song that could sit in the background while a whole relationship situation played out across a living room. And the guitar riff on that record? That riff is like a signature. It's smooth, but it's not sleepy. It's gentle, but it has direction.
Now I found out today that all the words.
And here's the key fact. The signature guitar riff in octaves on I'll Be Around is credited to Norman Harris. Even in detailed story behind the song reporting, you'll see the arrangement described in a way that highlights Harris opening with octave notes as part of the record's identity. Wall Street Journal now. The reason octave riffs hit so hard in soul music is because they sound like motion.
Once again, but I know whenever you call.
They sound like the music is walking, not running, walking with purpose. Norman Harris built the front porch of that song, the part you step onto before you even enter the story. And because it's so smooth, it's easy to miss how important it is. But take that riff away, the record loses a big piece of its identity. That's the truth.
My philosophy, you did not understand.
This is where I have to be real with you, because you asked for the truth, not the legend. When people talk about the iconic wah-wah guitar line on the title track, Let's Get It On, many published sources credit that signature guitar part to Don Peake. So if we're being strict about who played the most famous guitar line you hear immediately, that's the name that comes up again and again. But here's why Melvin Watson still belongs in this countdown, especially when we're talking about guitarists behind the hits and behind the era. Watson, Melvin Watson, is widely documented as a major Motown session guitarist whose work is directly associated with Marvin Gaye's Let's Get It On period, and obituaries from major music outlets explicitly connect him to that record album in his list of notable credits. And deeper historical writing about the sessions describes Reagan being brought in as one of the guitarists for those recordings. And even when the famous lick belongs to another player, Watson's presence around that time and his documented connection to that project still marks him as one of the quiet giants behind the music people grew up with. Because sometimes being behind the hit doesn't mean you played the first 3 notes everybody quotes. Sometimes it means you helped build the whole room the song is sitting in. And that's exactly what those great, overlooked guitarists did. I remember the first time I really felt this record, not just heard it. It came out of a small speaker, the kind that didn't even have much bass. But the song still sounded like tension, like nerves, like a phone call you're scared to make. That's the genius of You Keep Me Hanging On. It's a heartbreak record, but it moves like a thriller. And the guitar is a huge reason why. When people talk about Motown, they'll give you the stars out front, and they should. But I grew up learning the hard truth later. Behind those voices was a whole secret world of studio players who could make a 2-minute pop song feel like a whole movie. Joe Messina was one of those players, one of the main guitar hands in that Motown machine.
And there ain't nothing I can do about it.
And yes, on the facts, multiple modern credit databases list Joe Messina as one of the guitarists associated with You Keep Me Hanging On. That's why this is criminally overlooked. Because when a record is that famous, people stop thinking of it as something humans built. They think it's just history, but it was built. By hands, by minds, by musicians like Joe Messina, who could walk into a room, read the vibe in 10 seconds, and lay down guitar parts that still sound alive decades later. And when I hear that track today, I don't just hear a classic. I hear studio discipline. I hear a guitarist making heartbreak sound like motion. Now let me take you back to the first time War hit my ears the right way. Not the fun way, not the sing-along way, the truth way. Because War doesn't start as a sweet invitation. It starts as a slap. It's not asking you to dance first, it's asking you to pay attention first. And the guitar on that record? The guitar doesn't sound polite, it sounds like the times. Now let me take you back to the first time War hit my ears the right way. Not the fun way, not the sing-along way, the truth way. Because War doesn't start as a sweet invitation, it starts as a slap. It's not asking you to dance first, it's asking you to pay attention first. And the guitar on that record? The guitar doesn't sound polite. It sounds like the times. And Dennis Coffey's style, tight funk muscles with rock electricity, was perfect for that. This is also why he gets overlooked, because protest songs get remembered for lyrics and vocals first, but the guitar is what makes it feel like the message has teeth. Without that edge, the words can sound like a speech. With that edge, the words sound like a warning. That's Dennis Coffey, turning the band into a weapon while still keeping it musical. Killing Me Softly with his song. This one is quiet power. I remember hearing Killing Me Softly in rooms where people didn't even realize they were listening. It would just come on, and suddenly the talking got softer. The air changed. That's not hype, that's craft. And Eric Gale's guitar is part of that craft. On the facts, credit listings for Roberta Flack's Killing Me Softly era performances include Eric Gale on guitar, including Discogs credit pages and widely referenced personnel listings. Now, what does Eric Gale actually do on a record like this? He doesn't perform guitar like it's a spotlight. He paints with it. His playing sits in the track like warm lighting, soft, flattering, and intentional. It's the kind of guitar that makes the song feel grown without sounding cold. That's what Killing Me Softly gives you. Room to feel your own story inside somebody else's song. And the guitar is one of the reasons that room exists. He paints with it. His playing sits in the track like warm lighting, soft, flattering, and intentional. It's the kind of guitar that makes the song feel grown without sounding cold. That's what Killing Me Softly gives you. Room to feel your own story inside somebody else's song. And the guitar is one of the reasons that room exists. So when people talk about the record and they focus only on the voice, I understand it. But I also know the truth. That voice is floating on a bed of musicianship, and Eric Gale is one of the hands that made the bed soft enough to hold a classic. Now we jump into a different kind of excellence, the kind that doesn't shout because it doesn't have to. When Giving You the Best That I Got came out, it felt like adult R&B had class again. Like the music put on a tailored outfit. Everything sounded clean, controlled, expensive, and in that kind of record, guitar is not there to be gritty. Guitar is there to be smooth authority. Paul Jackson Jr. is one of the masters of that language. And on the facts, the Apple Music credits for the single version list Paul Jackson Jr. on guitar for Giving You the Best That I Got. Apple Music, web player. Now I want you to think about what it takes to play guitar on a record like this. You can't overplay. You can't get cute. You can't do the thing where you try to impress musicians instead of serving the song. You have to play like you're wearing clean shoes on a polished floor. It adds human breath. And that's why Paul Jackson Jr. belongs near the top of this list. He represents a kind of session greatness where the goal isn't to be remembered as the guy who did the crazy solo. The goal is to make the artist sound like their best self and make the listener feel like the record was made just for them. That's grown R&B at its finest.
If this song just hit you in that quiet place, don't let this moment be a one-time thing. Subscribe to Demo. We're building a home for real R&B and soul. The kind that heals, the kind that tells the truth. Hit subscribe and come back whenever you need a song that understands you.
And now, the top spot. Because if you grew up with soul and R&B, That Lady is one of those records where you can't even separate the song from the guitar. The guitar is the statement. It's the kind of tone that makes you look up like, hold on, who is playing that? On the facts, The song's credits include Ernie Isley as one of the writers on the 1973 rework, and the track is widely described as being driven by Ernie's guitar line.
I would love to take her home, but her heart is...
And if you want the real guitar head confirmation, Guitar Player literally breaks down Ernie Isley's fuzz-tone and his work on That Lady, straight from Ernie himself. Because long after you forget the year, long after the chart numbers fade, that guitar line still hits like a fresh spark. So if this countdown is about giving credit where it's overdue, Ernie Isley is number one because his guitar didn't just decorate a hit. It helped redefine what an R&B hit could sound like. If you want, I'll write the closing minute for the full video, the emotional rap plus comment prompt plus tease for the next episode, in the same voice, still with no extra labels. Now let me tell you what it felt like hearing this as it traveled through the world. This wasn't R&B guitar in the old polite sense. This was guitar with rockfire, but still sitting inside a black groove. It had sustain, it had attitude, it had that fuzz that feels like electricity crawling on your skin. The journey doesn't end here, R&B soul lovers. Watch this next.